For the first time in 3 decades, the United States heralds the arrival of a fresh strategic bomber. This monumental event signifies the debut of a new bomber from the U.S. Air Force since the grand presentation of the B-2 Spirit at Plant 42 in the sun-drenched Golden State of California back in November 1988. The inception of a groundbreaking next-generation long-range strike bomber was initially suggested in the year 2014, and by the crisp autumn of October 2015, the eminent defense contractor Northrop officially got the green light to breathe life into this new bomber to stave off any potential espionage from Russia and China. Up until the sunlit summer of July 2016, the U.S. Air Force maintained that they would keep the estimated costs for the B-21 contract shrouded in mystery, raising the flag of concerns about letting loose too much information into the hands of possible adversaries. The esteemed Senate Armed Services Committee also sanctioned the decision to keep the program's costs under wraps, even in the face of opposition from a group of bipartisan lawmakers. In the chilly winter month of December 2020, the Secretary of the U.S. Air Force, Barbara Barrett, made a bold statement before Congress, asserting that the United States was in dire need of a tool of defense that would strike fear into the heart of China. To the surprise of many, the weapon she was hinting at was none other than the B-21 Raider, a highly classified, next-gen bomber. The U.S. Air Force aims to acquire a minimum of 100 B-21 Raiders, with the anticipated total in service oscillating between 200 aircraft. Nevertheless, as of this moment, the public has only been privy to conceptual drawings of the B-21, with the maiden flight of the B-21 projected to kick off no sooner than 2023. But before that day dawns, the aircraft will have to pass through rigorous ground testing to certify its quality and performance. The premier phase of B-21 testing encompasses stress testing to scrutinize the aircraft's structural fortitude under an array of conditions, along with other trials. The next chapter of ground testing for the B-21 will engage in ground vibration testing to vet its systems and components. In addition, there will be painting and coating tests, and operational engine testing to evaluate the aircraft's low-speed, high-altitude flight prowess. The formal first flight of the B-21 Raider is slated to take place at the prestigious Edwards Air Force Base in California. This happens to be the most ambitious and scrupulously scrutinized aircraft program for the U.S. Air Force in a span of 30 years. The B-21 Raider is expected to roll out on schedule and within budget, a sharp contrast to some other modern programs in the U.S. military. The curiosity regarding the technological advancement of the B-21 is palpable. At first glance, the B-21's external design might not strike as a surprise to those who have been diligently following the evolution of U.S. military aircraft. The new Raider bears a striking resemblance to the B-2 Spirit, which was engineered in the 1980s. The B-21 Raider is engineered to be a supremely advanced, stealthy, and long-range strategic bomber. Its primary mission is to execute long-range precision strikes, and it will be armed to the teeth with both conventional and nuclear weapons. The B-21's long-range strike abilities will empower the U.S. to deploy the bomber in a plethora of scenarios, including potential targets on the Chinese mainland. The B-21 Raider is christened after the Doolittle Raiders, who masterminded the renowned Doolittle raid on Japan in the heart of World War II, back in 1942. The selection of the name also reaffirms that one of the primary theaters of operation for the B-21 will be the Pacific, where its main adversary will be China, a nation actively developing fifth-generation fighter aircraft such as the J-20 and FC-31, with the objective to rule the Pacific skies. The B-21 Raider is a high-tech, next-generation stealth bomber designed to replace the aging B-1 and B-2 bombers. It will be the backbone of the U.S. Air Force for any possible future conflicts. The B-21 Raider is capable of penetrating enemy air defenses and striking high-value targets before making a safe return. This ability is something that 90% of the current bomber fleet cannot achieve. The creation of the B-21 Raider is a mandatory response to the need for a new bomber platform to amplify the U.S. Air Force's capabilities and maintain a robust national defense. Even though the B-52, a veteran which has been in service since 1955, continues to play a pivotal role, there is a clear need for a new bomber platform that can adapt to evolving threats and challenges. The B-21 Raider has faced some delays in its initial flight schedule, but it remains a crucial facet of the U.S. national defense strategy. We would like to express our gratitude for sharing detailed information about this aircraft. However, owing to its widespread deployment in the Middle East as the sole supersonic bomber in the U.S. arsenal, the B-1 fleet has worn out more rapidly than anticipated, and is slated to retire by 2036. The B-2 bomber, which emerged in the late 1980s as a stealth bomber, capable of infiltrating the most fortified airspace and striking high-valued targets within enemy territory, has encountered its share of hurdles. Yet, the conclusion of the Cold War and the towering costs led to the manufacture of a mere 21 B-2 bombers, with one tragically lost in accident in 2008. As the B-21 Raider enters service, it will succeed the aging B-1 Lancer from the Cold War era, operating in tandem with the B-2 Spirit and B-52 Stratofortress. Ultimately, the B-21 Raider will gradually supplant both these aircraft, becoming the singular bomber in the U.S. Air Force. This shift is projected to span several decades. The B-21 Raider represents a critical element of the U.S. military's modernization initiative, which incorporates the B-21 stealth bomber, the Columbia-class submarine, and novel intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. The B-21 can launch precision strikes almost anywhere on the globe within a day through its network of domestic and overseas bases. It can execute both direct attacks and high-speed penetration strikes. The B-21 Raider can be dispatched from the United States to target zones in China or Russia, potentially annihilating command and control hubs and air defense systems within these nations. It can also be stationed on Guam bearing nuclear arms to deter China and North Korea. Popular Mechanics has posited that should China instigate an attack on Taiwan and conflict ensues in the Taiwan Strait during the initial stages, the B-21 could operate undetected under China's S-400 air defense systems and deploy high-speed cruise missile strikes in the Taiwan Strait. This could present a considerable threat to China's naval fleets attempting to cross the Taiwan Strait. The known as the B-21 now poses an even greater threat to Beijing than ever before. In recent years, it is not for lack of recognizing the need to upgrade its bomber fleets that the U.S. has fallen short. Case in point, the B-2 bomber has received upgrades to its defensive sensor systems, enabling it to detect and evade next-generation air defense systems. Yet the smaller size of the B-2 bomber fleet has curtailed its operational capacity. Furthermore, enhancements in air defense systems mean that existing U.S. bombers are more susceptible. The B-21 Raider may reinstate U.S. bomber capabilities in a significant conflict with top-tier opponents like Russia and China. Additionally, the B-21 Raider has the potential to morph into a mothership for swarms of unmanned aircraft. This was according to John, who undertook complex missions deep within enemy territory, in a discussion with Bloomberg. U.S. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall alluded to this possibility amid several military projects being reorganized due to budget constraints. This concept could bolster the B-21's role as a versatile platform akin to the case with the F-35. According to Kendall, the U.S. Air Force is targeting drones that can lift off from land bases rather than being launched from manned aircraft, as carrying drones impacts the stealth capabilities of the aircraft. Moreover, the B-21 boasts the capability to function as a command center for multiple drones while carrying advanced weaponry, enhancing its role in joint combat operations. As a bomber, the B-21 might be constrained to targeting a handful of enemies. However, when used as a drone command center, it can oversee numerous drones simultaneously, thereby amplifying its potential for both remote strikes and establishing aerial dominance over the adversary. This prospect is highly appealing to many defense experts at the Pentagon. In a surprising turn of events related to the B-21, it appears that the United States may contemplate offering the B-21 to its ally, Australia, as a strategic move to counterbalance China's growing influence in the South Pacific. As per Australia's Defence Minister Richard, Australia might consider procuring the B-21 bombers from the United States to re-establish their long-range strike capability, which was depleted after retiring their F-111 fighter jets in 2010. The United States is rumored to have commissioned 100 B-21 bombers at an expenditure of $203 billion, expecting a service life of 30 years. By marketing additional aircraft to Australia, the U.S. could feasibly decrease production expenses and alleviate the stress of maintaining a bomber presence in the Australian territory. The B-21 Raider would provide greater adaptability than submarines and land-based missiles for deterrence purposes. The erstwhile Australian Air Force chief posits that these aircraft could act as a flexible platform for transmitting warning signals, a vital factor in managing crises. Evidently, it was China that the B-21 was originally intended to counter, given that China is perceived as one of the United States' most formidable prospective adversaries. What's your take on the capabilities of this new bomber? Do you reckon it could effectively supersede the iconic B-52S or other aircraft? We eagerly anticipate your responses. For the time being, we'll halt the conversation. Farewell, and until next time.